Hello, everyone. Again, after a year, we have our friend Mike, who we will be talking to today. Mike, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Mike Gannon. I am a friend and a service provider. My company is Full Service Aquatics and That Pond Place. I'm a pond professional. We build, service, and maintain, even renovate and repair all types of ponds, water features, anything having to do with those type of features. We started the business back in 1995, so we're just about 30 years old soon. And our latest part of the business is That Pond Place, which is our retail outlet, where we have fish, plants, pond supplies.
Before we go further, in the description, have a look. There's a link to our discussion with Mike last year. So it's not only the discussion we had with him, it was also we were at the pond place. So you can see what the place looks like. They have a website, pondplace.com.
Yeah, thatpondplace.com.
Thatpondplace.com. Go check it out. In this interview, we have divided in two sections. I'm thankful to Mike for him to come over, but his team was here because remember, the pond I have in my backyard was built by his team. So they were here, two gentlemen, Edgar and
Herman.
Thank you. And they were here for six and a half hours, a long day. So go ahead and have a look, the hard work they did, and then we'll come back and talk with Mike.
Let's take a look.
So another hour or so later, now they have washed everything. This is the rinse part they're doing. Again, look at it. Everything is done by hand. And he's like almost washing each rock or each pebble or each stone over here. Everything is washed. It's looking much cleaner than what was before. Let me remind you guys something that we did this video last year also because I get this pond cleaned every late spring or early summer. You can go and watch that also. It has more detail than what we're doing this time around. We're just making a shorter version of it this time, just so everybody knows what's happening around here and how everything looks. So once this rinsing part is done, then they will start filling it and we'll see them. So we are 4 hours later now. Two professional people. It has taken them almost 4 hours to clean everything. He's still going through some last minute cleaning, which really is walking over the pebbles again and seeing if there's any dirt underneath that he needs to take out. But they have started filling the pond. So this is the process. Even though after like constantly working on it for almost 4 hours, he's still making sure that by moving the small stones, if any dirt, so you do see a bit of dark, but by the time he's done, this place will look cleaner than, it would not look like a pond, it would look like a pool. That's how clean it would be. You can almost drink water out of it. Surely I would not try to do it because live fish are in here, but yeah. So have a look how each stone and how everything is soaking. And if you look at the before pictures and then look at where we are, it's simply amazing. It will take, it's a huge pond. I tend to forget how many gallons it is. Mike Gannon has mentioned in one of the videos last year what's the size of this pond, but it will take a good hour. We are bringing a second hose so we can fill it a bit quicker. So let's see. As the pond is getting cleaned, just giving you a quick update where the garden is. So this was a spring garden which started a month ago. It's doing well, but not as great that I was hoping for. Brassicas are coming along. I don't see any kind of vegetable growing or fruit in the brassicas yet. The lettuce is there to be picked now. Like I can pick a few leaves, can make one small salad for myself. And the same kind of situation happening over here. The lettuces are doing very well. Let's also go and look at the potatoes. We did, with the potatoes, we did add some soil last week. So from here, the soil has already been added. I'll see if I need to add more. There are few where more can come, but for the rest of them, they are mostly full or as full as they could be. What I'm surprised about with the potatoes this year is it's been around 2 months that since we started these. And there are some which are flowering. As soon as that flowering process starts, it is telling you that the potatoes are already forming, and soon the greens, the tops will start dying down. And as the tops start dying down, that's where we'll wait for a few days and then take the potatoes out. What I see over here, I don't know if the camera is picturing it or not, or can actually, yeah, you can see it. There are some pollinators around here, which is a good thing. What I've been happy this year has been that I've seen more pollinators than before. There is no real scientific evidence that I can give you. It's just visual. But I do feel like I've seen more bees than what I've seen in the last few years. So almost 5 hours later, now we're filling the pond. One thing I wanted to show you before it fills, if you see in the back, you see a rock and what it is. So, okay, here we go. So what you see over here is a cave. There are two caves. There's one over there, and then there's one on this side of the pond. From here, you can't see it. You just see the rock on top. What this cave is supposed to do, that when the fish get scared of a predator, they go hide it in there. Or if it's too sunny and they need a bit of shade, they tend to go there. This is, you can call them their house. They really go. I do not know how fish sleep, but anytime if they're there, one of the two things are happening. Either they're worried about a predator, or the sun is too much and they want some shade. 3 levels of this pond. First level is almost filled with 2 hoses running. I will say it would be another good 45 minutes still for it to fill all the way. It's almost 6 hours later. A lot of work by Edgar and Herman. The pond is almost full. It's not totally yet. I think it will take another 5 or 10 minutes. We thought that the pond would take an hour to fill. I think it took much longer, at least hour and a half. Now, this one you're seeing, this water is coming from the tank itself because they've been mixing it with the water, which is coming from our regular public water lines. Let's see the fish, how they're doing. So, the fish have been doing pretty well. The biggest one you see is an original one. Other ones were bought later. So we have 2 right now, which are koi, true koi, and the rest of them, the smaller ones, are all goldfish. Here you go. So they're scooping the biggest one first. Welcome back home. This fish is good, like 20 pounds, if I'm not wrong. And it is back home. So this is exactly what Edgar would do. He'll pick each fish one by one, and you can see that happening, and he'll keep on bringing it to the pond. I think that's Kathai. Yep, it is. I do have names for all my fish. Surely most of them I forget, but I have named all of them. And he's bringing two more now. And this is how he introduces to the water. Gently puts them down. The fish would be shocked a bit. But as I told you, if you see that white hose looking thing, it's a kind of a heater. It's trying to make the water as warm as they can possibly, or close to whatever the natural water should have been. Because eventually, whatever the season and weathers are, it will take over. This time, I think he has got 3 of them, if not 4. There we go. And they're all introduced to the water. Edgar, everything is done? So all the fish are here now in their new environment. The water is not as clean as what it looked, let's say, 45 minutes ago. The reason is when you introduce that old water, which was a bit mucky, it does mix with it and it changes the color of the water which we are filling. But be assured that in a matter of a couple of hours, this whatever the muck or the dirt inside there is will settle down. And the water will be very clear for at least next few days. So thank you so much, Edgar. Edgar is a gentleman who built this pond many years ago, and he picked each stone over here and did one by one. And over here, it's Herman. He helped us today with the cleaning. Thank you so much, both of you. So, Mike,
Yes.
you surely see this because of your profession, but it amazes me when they come and clean it.
Yeah.
Almost like they clean each stone, and some of them are like half an inch.
Yeah.
With hand. And I was telling, as you heard me saying earlier also, when I'm paying the bill, it's painful. But when I see the process, it just amazes me.
Yeah.
And it's value for money.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's quite an undertaking. It's a big job. We are not literally cleaning each and every stone, but we really get in there. We do a deep cleaning of ponds. What we're trying to do is remove accumulated material and organics, which over time can bring down water quality and cause algae blooms and other associated problems with that. There's many things, of course, that could go wrong. So we like to really get in there, really clean it up, and get things started up fresh.
So, as I said, you want to see last year's interview? It's in the description. This year, I discussed with Mike before we started talking. We have the questions over here. Last year, we generally talked about ponds and building them and having fish, which is, we can say it was 101 on having a pond.
Yeah.
This year, we will go a bit deeper because of the amount of knowledge Mr. Gannon has. To understand more about ponds, aquatic life, we can surely get into. One of the questions, we alluded to it last year, but I don't think we went into that much detail. Can you describe the methods you use for monitoring water quality in your aquatic specifications?
Sure. Water quality, it's kind of a broad topic, a broad subject. We use a few different ways to do that. So water quality, one of my favorite mantras is that your fish are your best indicator of water quality. If you get to know your fish, they'll kind of tell you what's going on in your pond. A lot of times I can literally, without testing, look at a pond and have a fairly good guess as to what's going on there, what may be going on within the water quality parameters. Our testing, however, is comprised of commercial test kits, which are readily available. Anybody can pretty much get them. They can be as complex as you want them to be. You can do basic testing, which is going to cover ammonia, nitrite, nitrates, oxygen, hardness, things along those lines. There's 7 or 8 parameters that it's going to test for you. If you're having something more of an issue or you need deeper analysis, a lot of times the test kits that are available to us are going to really take you there. If you need farther testing for perhaps contaminants or things along those lines, you're better served sending a water sample off to a lab, or more likely they'll come to collect it from you for testing.
Now, what are the specific parameters you use to test the water quality? Example will be any pH dissolvents you use, any extra actually I don't think you have to have extra oxygen, because most of your ponds will have waterfall, and that circulation will give that automatically. Any unnatural things that you have to add to get to that level?
Our approach is basically chemical free. So when you're trying to bring your pond into balance, which just means that as nutrients are building, and nutrients are the food source for algae and other kind of irritating growth within your pond, if you can keep nutrient levels low, then your algae and most other issues are going to be under control. We like to use natural bacteria and enzymes to do that. But a lot of it goes into how we construct the ponds as well. So the pond itself is a biological filter which breaks down nutrients. Aquatic plants is part of that formulation as well. Aquatic plants absorb nutrients from the water and are basically depriving algae of their food source. So by way of bacteria, plants, filtration, and certain construction methodologies, we can control nutrient levels in a pond very effectively.
Now, I know that when it comes to gardening or farming, there are many rules, laws, local, county, state.
Yes.
When it comes to aquatic life, whatever I have in the back, are there any laws, especially in New Jersey?
Well, there are certain laws as to different species that you're allowed to keep. Some states, actually, it's illegal to have goldfish, koi, and fish along those lines because of their invasive nature should they get into natural waterways. And every once in a while, you'll see stories about that pop up. So yeah, there are definitely guidelines as to what types of fish, what types of plants you can keep. A lot of plants, getting it can also be very invasive and be very costly to remove and control when they get into natural waterways. For example, water hyacinth, water lettuce, plants like that. And there's guidelines with what type of treatments you can use as well. In New Jersey, it's very difficult to get certain chemical treatments. You actually have to get permits and licensing to be able to purchase and apply them. My company actually doesn't even deal with that. We only deal with the natural bacteria and enzyme-based treatments. But there's definitely lots of guidelines as to how you need to approach these different types of services that you do for your ponds.
Now, saying that you go the natural route, you would have built so many ponds in all these years.
Yes.
Do you collect any data from them or anything that helps you to come up with new solutions for the future?
Yes, we do. We definitely collect data from our field work. We're out in the field. I've been in the field for 30 years. My guys are out there. They're doing it too. Thankfully, they've been with me a long time. We collect that type of data that we can use, and it's based on so many different things. One of the parameters we're looking for to know if we have a healthy environment, for example, is what type of species are showing up. Sometimes when we do a project, there is nothing in that area, and as we go back again, and like even here, and see these projects over time, the development of those is pretty impressive as far as the type of species that get drawn into it, meaning local wildlife. That kind of data we do collect, and it can be really different depending on locations. So some ponds are in areas where it might be great habitat for a lot of bird species, for some maybe woodland critters or snake, reptile. So we do try to keep track of that type of data so we can examine it and adjust how we service our clients. Because a pond, not all ponds, even though we build them the same way, necessarily get serviced the same way because of those type of parameters and the different type of data that we collect. We do adjust based on that.
So extending on that question now, How do you assess and manage the ecological impact of your activities on local aquatic? You were talking about birds. Whatever you do, does it affect the aquatic life over there?
It not only affects aquatic life, I think the effect on aquatic life is relatively localized because we're building a body of water. So the aquatic life for fish, for example, are mostly introduced. And I do say mostly introduced because sometimes they're brought in by birds or other ways that fish do get introduced. But everything else really gets affected by it. So over a period of time, you'll see different plants that we utilize, the ponds that we build, all sorts of wildlife. It's very interesting. I almost look at it as a ripple effect because we can take where there was no pond, no body of water, we build one, and then all of a sudden, that body of water has an ecological effect radiating out from it. You may have very local critters like frogs, like raccoons, squirrels, and birds that are utilizing that, but it goes much farther. You could even say that it keeps going out. You'll have birds that will travel 10 miles, like a great blue heron, to come and use your pond. You'll have, for example, a monarch butterfly that makes a multi-thousand-mile journey that may stop at your pond to refresh and water. So it's, when you think about it, your pond not only has a local impact, but it really spreads out quite a bit.
Now, on your website, I've seen quite a few of your projects. I know not everything is on your website.
Nope.
But there are a couple which I saw, they almost look like small lakes.
Yes.
Any innovative project that you can think of right now that you would like to share with everybody?
We just wrapped up a rather large project. It was a private project. So our client has about a 10-acre compound, which they're developing. They're trying to turn it into a very natural area. So we built a very large pond. It's about 75 by 80. The actual pond is 4 feet deep, with a huge waterfall with pooling areas. I mean, probably a 30-foot long waterfall, about 8 foot high with various cascades and everything. The reason for it is that they want to create an ecosystem in their areas. They are putting in all sorts of native plantings, different fish species as well. Frogs have already started showing up and reproducing in there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they don't even have to introduce, but that was a very interesting project. And we've worked on other ones too. Some of the technology that's out there is pretty cool stuff. One that I'm impressed with, which actually I haven't worked with, but I would love to, is nanobubble technology.
What's that?
Which is a way of injecting tiny little oxygen bubbles. A lot of us are familiar with aquariums, where you have bubblers, and it's kind of a small bubble, but in the big picture, it's a rather coarse size. It's rather large. Nanobubble technology is almost, looks like a mist being injected into bodies of water. It allows high absorption rates of oxygen and high turnover of nutrient levels, which improves water quality really rapidly. Those are really cool. That's a new technology. Hasn't really fully come into the pond world on small scale, and on the larger scale, which is how it's usually applied, it's rather expensive. But I think as people see the impact of it, it'll come to market a little bit less expensive and be more accessible, even for small scale usage. Another cool thing that I saw and actually got trained in and certified in is floating island technology, which is a use of plastics, extruded plastic, made into floating mats that you can grow aquatic plants on. Those mats, even just in and of themselves, have such a high surface area that beneficial bacteria colonizes it and works the water and lowers nutrients. But when plants are made part of it, the effectiveness of it is like exponential. And it's really amazing what they can do. And it's a passive system. You know, you don't need pumps and you don't need all that kind of stuff to use these, but their effects on turning around bodies of water, even dead bodies of water, is pretty remarkable. And there's a lot of, they do a lot of case studies on those.
Now, when it comes to the staff you have, I've met quite a few of them over the years. How do you find them and how do you maintain their professional development? Because this is decently specialized work.
Yeah, it's highly specialized. I would say finding employees is very difficult for just about everybody these days. But when you get into somebody who is going to be specialized, and you have to enjoy it, specialized and enjoy working with ponds and water features, it's not easy. I've been very blessed in the sense that my guys have been with me for quite some time.
Mhm.
They really enjoy the work that they do. I think they get the same fascination out of it that I did. I mean, I've been a professional for 30 years, but I was a hobbyist. I mean, that's what it was. It was an intense curiosity, and I loved keeping fish and the plants, and I just loved all that stuff, and it turned into a profession. I think most of my guys came to my company looking to be in the landscape industry, but enjoy the specialization enough to stick around and focus on it and become professionals at it as well.
Do you or have you been in circumstances where while you were working or whatever the reason would be, you came across hazardous material?
Nothing terribly hazardous. You know, from time to time, we have worked on ponds that we are digging out to improve them, to dredge them out a little bit. And we've come across very undesirable conditions. But as far as hazardous materials, chemicals, and stuff like that, I've been very fortunate in that I have not had to deal with those type of circumstances.
So if I just ask a hypothetical, are you equipped if something like that happens in your team to handle hazardous, or you would have to ask somebody else to come and do that work?
I am networked in a way that I would ask somebody else to come in and do it. If we came across genuinely hazardous materials, I'd want somebody who is specialized in handling those type of materials rather than our company. I'd rather be the guy to encounter, identify, and turn it over to the proper people to handle those. Our company is not a hazardous waste materials company. We're not set up to transport them or anything like that. But I'm networked enough to know the correct people to call.
So this is the age of social media, and you get constant feedback about everything.
Yes.
But you, as you said, 30 years, so you've been doing it long enough that probably some of those CEOs might not even have been born. That joke aside, how do you incorporate your customers' feedback into what you do?
I think our customers' feedback informs almost everything we do as far as our customer service best practices. We do listen to our customers, whether it's complaints or whether it's feedback on what they love. You know, so it all helps us develop our approach and improve our best practices. Even best practices can be better. So yeah, we absolutely listen to our customers. They help us serve them better. We listen to them and we adjust.
Now, you mentioned just now about networking, and that's very important actually in any business.
Yes.
Part of your networking, are you involved with any scientific institutions, environmental organizations, or things to that nature?
Yeah. We're involved with a few different groups that are industry specific. The IECA, which is the International Erosion Control Association, the IWGS, International Water Garden Society. I'm a certified contractor, so certified aquascape contractors. There's all these different groups that, yeah, we absolutely associate with. The New Jersey Landscape Contractors Association. These are excellent professional groups and associations that we do network with and work with from time to time.
So we all talk about climate change.
Mhm.
Yes, I'm a personal believer there is climate change happening, but for us to realize in our own lifetimes, we might not. It's on a longer scale, like next 100 years or 200 years, 300 years.
Mhm.
So in 30 years to talk about climate change, I think we'll not be doing justice to the subject.
Right.
But that said, in 30 years, and I've lived here and been gardening over here for a good 22 years, and I've been gardening for 30 years or so, I have seen changes.
Mhm.
How are you coping with that? Is that affecting your business?
In more or less of a way. So I almost look at what we do as a very small answer to climate change. One of the impacts of climate change is loss of habitat. And I definitely believe every pond that we're doing, we're creating habitat. Even if it's just a water feature, we're creating habitat. Yes, it looks nice. It's a beautiful feature for someone's backyard. They sit around, they enjoy it for the aesthetic beauty of it and the fun of fish keeping and water gardening. But what's happening is that their pond becomes a lifeline for local wildlife. It becomes a resource for plants, fish, insects, birds, you name it. So much happens at that pond that people probably aren't even aware of, even down to the microbial level. There's so many things going on. We're literally creating habitat and making natural resources more available to the local wildlife. I feel like I see over time, you kind of see patterns. There's not as many frogs as there used to be. You know, I mean, there's not as many turtles as there used to be back 30 years ago. It's not to say they're not here, but there just doesn't seem to be as many. So whatever type of trend that is, I can't really point and identify it. However, I will say that almost every pond that we build ends up being a habitat for frogs, for turtles, and for other critters that will benefit from it.
So now going forward, so we talked about the past. How do you keep up with new research, new development? Like, are there like being a CPA, I think you have to do these many credits each year, and in some other fields also.
Yeah.
Is there the same kind of thing in your field?
Yes, absolutely. There's lots of opportunities for training and education, and I take advantage of those. There are, as a matter of fact, I think I mentioned a certified aquascape contractor. I'm a master level at that, and you still need to go and put in your time and do training and attend events. I've built hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ponds of water features, but I'll still go to an event and learn something. And there is always something to learn. So I think that training and that upkeep is really important. But even other segments of the industry, I'll subscribe to newsletters and blogs and listen to podcasts. And there's all sorts of education out there, apart from the certification programs. I do get certified in a lot of different things, but you got to have a curious mind, and you got to keep listening and learning. And in this industry, there's a lot to learn.
Right. Anytime there's a live animal, that you have to be super careful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you do any community outreach?
Sure. Yeah. We've done a lot of community outreach over the years. I do talks to different groups. In that respect, I'm reaching out and trying to turn people on to pond keeping and water gardening. I think they're really wonderful hobbies and lifestyles. It's a great hobby for, the entire family. I always say from 2 years old to 102 years old, there's always something to enjoy about a pond. So we have that type of outreach, but there's other things that we've done too. There's, recently we've donated a lot of things. We did, or we'll work with people and donate, even impart a lot of things. We recently built a koi pond at a school for special needs kids.
Nice.
And it was beautiful, and what a great experience. And it's an amazing school. It's an absolutely amazing, stunning, beautiful school. And we did the koi pond right at the entrance to it. So if you go into the school, you have to go past the koi pond. And the enjoyment that these kids get from it is just It's amazing. It's heartwarming and
Excellent.
amazing.
Excellent. I would the pond place.
Yes.
We will put the address down below on the screen.
Yep.
Tell a little bit so people who are in this tri-state area. I know we realized from last year that you service New Jersey typically. Might you do Pennsylvania also? No.
Yeah.
Okay. So your circle is not too huge, if I say that way.
Well, we just went international a couple of years ago.
Oh,
So
well, tell us about it.
we most certainly we're based in New Jersey, so we have our customer base is mostly in New Jersey. We go over into Pennsylvania, into New York a little bit. We've done many out-of-state projects from, we did one up in Massachusetts recently. We've worked in Illinois, West Virginia, Tennessee, Las Vegas. You ever see this TV show Tanked?
I have not seen it, but I've heard the name.
It's an aquarium TV show. We did the pond at their headquarters out there. So we've done a lot of, we're not just in Jersey. I prefer being in New Jersey because it's close. But we recently, a couple of years ago, went up into Canada. We got a call from a client of ours now up in Newfoundland, Canada, which is really an island off the coast of Canada. And we went up there and built a huge pond for them. It was quite an experience. It was really cool. So we're officially international.
Excellent. Funny thing, because if you go and watch the video from last year, somebody commented that they lived in Minnesota, and they wished that you were close by.
Oh, I'll come see you.
Generally, these were the questions. This time around, I wanted to get people have a better understanding the undertaking of a pond. Again, we said last year also, it's not a cheap hobby to have,
Right.
but it is very fulfilling. I
Yeah.
take it from a customer. I'm not just trying to plug Mr. Gannon's brand. He has helped me a lot. He has taught me a lot. And it's just that through work, you create friendships. Mr. Gannon, you have to say something in the closing.
It is fulfilling. That's why I do what I do. I didn't end up in the pond profession. I became part of the pond profession. Some people end up in jobs, and they have a job for 20 years that they ended up in. Nobody makes you work in the pond industry. So I found it so fulfilling, and there was so much about it that like I said earlier, it literally became a profession. It was not what I went to school for, not what I was ever trained for, but it was my hobby. I just loved it so much. It fulfilled me enough that I literally could do it every day, and I still enjoy it every day. There's days, but for the most part, I really enjoy this.
For that matter, you're the second story, our channel, my friend Bob. Bob is the same case.
Yeah.
He, by profession or by schooling, he was becoming an accountant.
Okay.
And he became a farmer.
There you go.
So a story close to your heart, probably.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel. Let people know. We try to bring as much information as possible about gardening, whatever we do around here. Thank you so much.
And if you're local, come visit us at that pond place. It's in Stewartsville, New Jersey, the beautiful highlands of New Jersey. You can come see us, and we got restaurants in the area, wineries in the area. It's a lovely drive. Come on out and say hi.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.